There we go. Good evening, gentlemen. Sorry for the delay.
Okay, you are in now. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you all for joining this news band interview tonight. It's my pleasure to welcome our guest, Barrister Solomon Dalyop Esquire. Barrister Solomon, you're welcome to tonight's interview.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here once again.
Thank you very much. This is the second time you're appearing with us. If Mr. Sunday Dankaka Dawap, Mr. Dawap, have you joined us? Please let us know when you join. Kevin, you are here. I'll make you co-host so that you help us to monitor. Co-host. Okay, tonight's discussion is about the Plateau Genocide. Who are the perpetrators and what is the solution? I do a little exercise in this program. If you go to, before we start, so that we understand the magnitude of the problem we are dealing with. So let me just share let me share my screen now to show something. If you go to Newsband, here, if you search for Plateau, just type Plateau, search. Okay, what it will bring out for you is just Tales of War. Today, July 3. Today, July 3, right? Correct. Farmers accuse herders of destroying crops in Plateau. June 25, 3 miners killed by young men in Plateau. June 21, 6 seared dead as Plateau massacre continues. June 2022, massacred in fresh Plateau attack, and so on and so forth. Just scroll down, you will see killings almost every day. It appears as if we have grown, we are no longer shocked. We have come to accept killings in the Middle Belt, especially now in Plateau State, as a way of life. So tonight, we are following the discussion to see why is this happening? Does it amount to genocide? And if so, who are perpetrating it? So, Barrister Solomon, can you update us what have been the latest developments since the last time you appeared on this program? Solomon, are you able to unmute yourself?
Of hello? Network or the general network?
Barrister Solomon.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Dalyop. Are you here with us? Hello, Solomon.
Yeah, good evening all. It's my pleasure to give updates happenings in the state. Plateau escalated attacks being coordinated by Fulani militias as usual. And just as you said, the attacks are actually not taking us by surprise because it has been on, and then of course there will always be early warning signals that so villages will be attacked, and the information gets out to the security agents at the appropriate time before the incident, and lo and behold, it will still happen. And ever since the killing of the 3 miners, lo and behold, it was. Hello?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think ever since the killing of the 3 miners at Tanjol area of Jol community in Riom local government of Plateau State, there have been also some isolated incidences. Like a young man was attacked at Tahoe's area of Riom local government. He was beaten mercilessly, had series of machete cuts, and was rushed to Christian Hospital where they later on referred him to Youth, and he gave up his ghost at the Jos University Teaching Hospital. And there's also another incident of a corpse of a missing Okada rider along Rim Road, where he went to deliver a local grill to the people of Bachi, and he was declared missing. After some time, the corpse was found last week when it has already decomposed, and the attention of the security was called. Of course, the motorcycle was nowhere to be found. And it went on and on. And 5 days or 4 days back, thereabout, the Fulani come as usual in their willful destruction of farm crops, mischievous grazing. After they had destroyed over 30 farmlands that particular fateful day. And on their return to where they are based, especially past axis of Jol community in Orium local government, they started shooting into Jol community. We immediately alerted the security who went there, but of course there was no any engagement to repel them. Rather, they were chased away to where they came from. There was no life lost. What we are witnessing in Riom and Barikiladi, and then of course there was another incident where it was last week, Tuesday or Wednesday, thereabout. A traditional ruler was killed in Barikiladi. He was killed on his farm. It was in the morning time at about 8 to 9 a.m. It was attacked and shot dead. And also the killing of a pastor too, who I think he was buried today or tomorrow. He will be buried, where the family went and shot him dead. So not been we've not had a coordinated massive attack as it happened in the past few weeks, but they've been isolated and guerrillas invasion on particular individuals and communities. And then of course last week too, there were killing of 2 young people who were ambushed from Werenkam village of Weren community in Riom local government. That incident happened at about 5 to 6 p.m. 2 people were shot dead. 1 sustained fatal injury and was rushed to the hospital. I think basically that is what has happened as to each incident of attacks. But the prevalent one now is the massive destruction of farm crops. And we know that, rainy season had started long before now. Many farmers had cultivated their farms, and some are even at the point of harvest. But of course, the Fulani have gone overnight and mowed down farm crops. Like we went with AIT today to Tahoe's area, where we saw cabbage farm was completely mowed and harvested. Not only mowed, but it was also harvested. And more than 5 hectares of maize were completely mowed down too. That is just in Tahoe's alone. And then in Jol, from January to date, we have not less than 300 farmlands completely destroyed. And what is actually perplexing here is, before the 2023 general elections, the Fulani met at Mahanga and resolved in their secret meeting that there won't be harvest in Riom Barkiladi and Mangu local government areas. And I can remember vividly that early warning signal was sent out to the appropriate authorities, believing that there will be action or Fulani's attention will be drawn and then possibly caution against that plan mischief. But of course, that is what we are seeing today. The people of Joel community have threatened to vacate the area because one, God has graciously helped them to survive armed invasion. And then now they've been placed between armed invasions and also the sort of food insecurity, because the people are largely agrarian. And of course, if there will be no food, it is even more devastating than the bullet, because the bullet will only kill 1 or 2 or 3, but hunger is coming to wipe the entire community that has not less than 4,000 people. And another development there that the people are worried about is, one, they are not even allowed to go and cultivate the few farms that are accessible, because this is a season where you could go and farm sweet potatoes, because almost 80% of the maize farm crops have been destroyed. Only those are the backyard of residential areas that are standing. And then of course, the only crops that could be farmed now is that of the sweet potatoes. And now they cannot go because, of course, nobody will wish to feed himself and his family on sweet potatoes, because it also has its health implication if consumed, in a large quantity. But of course, the people will have no option than to resort to the community alone. And we have witnessed a massive destruction of farm crops, not only at all. We've had same in Torok of Rim. We've had same in Gaku, in Weren, Rim. Similar experience is being, being meted up on the people of Gasa in Dawap, as well as Haipan, and also Fan district in Barkiladi. So that is what the people are battling with now.
Okay, Barrister Solomon, may I ask this question? When the previous president, President Buhari, was in office, I remember an interview, I think it was on the CNN, where he claimed that what is happening in the Middle Belt is harder farmers conflict, that there is no genocide, there is no mass killing or atrocity. It's just the farmers and herders, arguing over farmland or farm space. Is that how you will characterize what is happening in Plateau State at the moment?
Not at all. I stand to be corrected. But I want to believe, I have a firm belief that President Buhari was rather misinforming the world. And I want to see him as one of the proponents of this herders farmers philosophy, which itself is a ploy to misdirect the world from having the true picture of what is happening here in Plateau, particularly Riomberkiladi, Bokos, Mangu, and other places that have had their own share of this banditry and terrorism that is being unleashed on innocent, people in this part of the country. I had argued vehemently that there is nothing like herders farmers clash on the plateau. People that are pushing or that are advancing such argument are mischief makers. In short, I see them as the parties to the ongoing genocide and ethnic cleansing in the state. I had asked Headers Farmers Clash, who is a header and who is a farmer? The native also rear cattle, and we've never had any day that they've gone to graze on either their neighbors' farm crops or those of the Fulanis. The Fulani also cultivate and have farmlands that have been grabbed and are currently in occupation of same. And we've never seen a day that Fulani has taken his cow to go and graze on a neighboring Fulani's farmland in the name of Headers Farmers Clash. We've had situations, experiences that little children have been murdered, women, unarmed people have been massacred in their sleep, and we call that one a Headers Farmers Clash. If it is a clash, of course, the meeting point of that contention or that battle or what have you.
Okay, now that we have had a new president now,
yeah,
who has been in office now for more than 30 days. He's now in the second month. Has there been any movement at all toward resolving this catastrophe happening in Plateau State?
Well, for the first time, was it last week or thereabout, the outgoing GOC summoned for the first time a first security meeting ever since he assumed office in the state. Despite several calls by the Plateau youth for his withdrawal and also investigation into the modus operandi he has adopted in tackling security situation in the state. Because for the first time, very unprecedented approach the man came up with, very unusual. Let me just use this, very unusual, that an STF commander will be posted to the state. He has never surfaced. No one has ever seen him. He has never engaged critical stakeholders into dialogue or sitting or any findings. All we see is a siren going to, scene of incidents when his kinsmen, I want to use that word, or possibly the Fulani had already perfected or executed their banditry work. Then you see him going. I see that not for any on-the-spot assessment, but it's a mockery that the whole community, the whole local government will be under invasion. There won't be any deliberate move to, contain the attackers.
What about the governor of the state? How the governor approached this GOC or the security commanders in Plateau State to see what could be done? Or has the community leaders approached any of those GOCs or security commanders to see what could be done?
I want to believe, I had this premonition that in their security meeting, of course, since it is called security meeting, they might have, discuss, because it's not something they will have a discussion and bring it to the public. But of course, I also want to believe that whatever resolution, whatever directive that might have come from the executive governor, we've not seen that being complied with, because if at all there is compliance or there have ever been compliance, would have seen drastic measures put in place by the security agents towards addressing, the ongoing genocide and ethnic cleansing in the state. We've only appreciated the effort of the police and other agencies like the civil defense, and I think that is just it, the mobile policemen.
But if you have called this genocide, because genocide is an international crime that international agencies can also investigate an organization, such bodies as the ICC, International Criminal Court, has the community leaders or the elites in the state who have borne the brunt of these killings for the past 2 years approached the ICC, international bodies to come and see what they can do?
Well, in the recent time, I have not heard, I've not seen anyone coming to dare the state actors, by way of inviting the international community to come and investigate the obvious genocide in the state. But of course, I want to still believe that hope is not yet lost.
Okay, what about the community? Has any organization, local organization, kind of conducted an exhaustive investigation to demonstrate a pattern of killings that will show genocide? Because if you want to approach the international community, you have to show systemic killings that will support the claim of genocide. Has any local bodies like organization, group conducted such? Yes?
We've not seen that. And in my own view, it appears the state is overwhelmed by the incessant killings, because you've not yet conducted the mass burial of this one. Another community is under attack. And then you could see that there will be, simultaneous attacks in 4 to 5 villages the same time.
Okay, do we have a data?
And so
do you have a data or record of those who have been killed in these fatalities in these killings?
Well, we've not yet put up our records, but of course we only have communities we've directed for the compilation of the records, date of incidents, names of victims, names of those that have fallen, fatality, and also destruction of farm crops, date incidents, locations, and also the estimated damages and number of dependents for people who have been killed and then those injured. We were working on that data. And I want to believe that once that one is ready, possibly that is when we'll begin to come up with our write-ups, and then also petitioning the ICC to come over and swing into investigation as to what is happening here. Because of a truth, I must say that the outgoing GOC should be investigated. And then, of course, he cannot be investigated until when we have the records, which will also speak as to whether there was rapid response from the military or not, as whether the attention have been called upon, and then, of course, what have they done, to avert or to stop or to actually, give present the potency of the Nigerian military, whether they have the capacity and then the willpower, the availability of manpower to contain the sort of the ongoing, attacks and invasions on native and innocent persons within this.
Okay, before I call on other people to offer their opinion or to ask any questions, or to also give experiences of what is happening in their own locality around the Middle Belt, what do you think will be the solution to these incessant killings happening in Plateau State? Where do we go from here?
The solution is very straight, sir. One is that there must be a change in the security formation and arrangement, the approach. Ever since the crisis here in the Plateau, it started with crisis. Now it is full-scale banditry and terrorism, which has been under the control and management of the military. Whether Operation Safe Haven or whether STFO, it is the same individual, because changing the name is just a matter of nomenclature. It doesn't change the character of the people that have been saddled with the responsibility of manning the situation. So, of course, relying largely ever since the inception of this upheaval to date that it is the military that will handle it when there are obvious compromises. It will continue, it will persist. But having the military withdrawn, totally withdrawn, and then bringing in the mobile police, because the police are saddled with the responsibility of managing internal security situations, whereas the military are to, protect the integrity, territorial integrity of Nigeria. And I want to believe, of course, the rationale behind this, was a very wonderful one. But there is a kind of dislocation and, of course, inappropriate approach. That is why it will linger. So having the military withdrawn and taken back to the barracks, then bringing in the mobile police will largely bring an end to this, because it has been tested that even now, you will be surprised that ever since mobile police were deployed to Kwi, community in Riom, local government, there have never been even one gunshot from that end. But there have been presence of the military, and the whole, how many villages were uprooted 3 weeks back. And then presently, as I'm talking to you, there is presence of the military, mobile police deployed to Dawap, and Dawap is a hamlet that covers Werenkam, and then ever since they were stationed just yesterday, just last night, we've not had incident of gunshot. Now, really has it. So you begin to wonder, what is really happening? Is it that we know the solution? The solution is very, very obvious. But of course, the matter of this thing, and then the compromising security officers wouldn't want this thing to end. So the first solution is having the mobile police replacing the Operation Safe Haven. It will bring an end to this. Even the Fulani had testified in one of their meetings that they wouldn't want the mobile police to be brought into the state, because once the mobile police, they will not allow them to continue with their terrorism, but they appreciate the presence of the military. And that is what is happening. Now, we've not heard of any arrest of Fulanis. And these are people that are coming in hundreds, in their thousands. We've not had the arrest of their leaders who have brought the bandits from Zamfara, ISWAP members from the northeast, and some other part of the country. And we've been pushing with credible intelligence so that a needed action is done. Second approach is to have these people dislodged, because Nigeria is a democratic state. It is a nation or a country that has extant laws wonderfully enacted. We have institutions, frameworks that have been put in place to regulate every conduct and to also, take care of every situation. Now, the law explicitly clear as to how one can acquire or be in possession of whatever, either movable or immovable property in the country. But of course, what we are seeing today is the incident of land grab. And land grab in the state, it has always been on an increase, because even what.
All right, Barrister Solomon, let's quickly get some perspective as well to add to your own. You very clearly.
It's happening in Mangu local government, Fulani houses, after displacement and not in anything. So if we could have these people that are occupying the grab dislocated.
Thank you very much. You have clearly articulated the problems of these cleanings in Plateau State and attributed it to Fulani herdsmen. You have also clearly elucidated on what you believe will be the solution to the atrocities and genocide happening in Plateau State. We believe these killings is not restricted to Plateau State. It also cuts across other Middle Belt regions. And there are also reports coming in that there are also killings carried out against Fulani civilians. So let's get some perspectives to see what we can make of these sad developments. Let's hear from Cholom Yang. You can unmute yourself and you can either make a comment or ask a question, and let's take it from there.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Cholom Gyan. I am the Secretary General of the Berom Educational and Cultural Organization, BECO. I have listened extensively to my younger brother, Barrister Solomon, contribution. And he has perfectly given a vivid description of what has been happening. Perhaps I can just add up to the fact that the present situation started in earnest on the 13th of June, or there about 10 or 13th of June, 2010, when a village called Demburu, what was called normally Dogona Hawa, in Foreign district of Barkin-Ladi local government, was attacked. Now the whole village, within that night, the whole village was wiped out. Some other villages in Foreign, Norfolk and the rest of them, extending into Fan, where Kugot, Sagas, and the rest were attacked that same night. Close to 1,000 people were killed. But officially, we have been told over 500, because many dead bodies were picked 2 weeks after when they had decomposed. But because the center of attack that night was Dogona Hawa, attention was there. Now, after that attack, serially, daily, on daily basis, villages came under attack. The then Chief of Army Staff General Abdulrahman Dambazo, who had come to Jos in 2008 during the attack, the outbreak of crisis in Jos North following the local government elections. After staying in Jos for 1 week, Abdulrahman Dambazo did not visit a single non-Hausa community in Jos. He didn't pay a courtesy call on the Bongom Jos. He didn't visit the then governor of Plateau State, Jonah David Jang, who must have been his senior in the military. After 1 week, he left. After forming the then Special Military Task Force, headed by, I've forgotten the name of this general. Now, that general, being a Muslim, was the GOC and at the same time, commander of the task force.
Salim Minor.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Salim Minor, yes. Now, after Salim Minor's atrocities, and with the death of Yar Adua, Jonathan came in. A new GOC was posted to Rukuba Barak, Colonel General Idoko. I believe this one now a Christian. Surprisingly to us, when Idoko became the GOC in Rukuba, he was detached from doubling as a STF commander. Can you see that? Now, Danladi, I think one brigadier general from Niger State, a Muslim, was now sent to be the commander of the special task force, not reporting to the GOC, but reporting to the defense headquarters straight, having been detached from the GOC, being a Christian. Right from then, it became a clear picture began to emerge that the commander of the task force must be a Muslim. It was during that after the successor to Salim Minor continued from where Salim Minor stopped, and they continued killing. Now, if anybody was ever in doubt, the killings had a pattern. Because after General Dambazo left, the then Chief of Army Staff, he told the world that the military had taken over the responsibility of security in Plateau from the state government to itself. And people will now begin to see what will happen in the next few weeks. True to type, in the next few weeks, we started seeing soldiers attached to Fulani herdsmen going for grazing. And surprisingly, in places like Barkin Ladi and Riom that were not affected by the 2008 crisis, why were soldiers being assigned to harassment in the bush? Nobody knew. These are facts that can be verified any day. It was when the killings of 2010 came that we now knew why the soldiers were following the Fulanis to the field, to get to know the topography and geography of our villages. Because when the killings of 2010 came, they were specialized killing. They were not killed, they were not done by hunters or by people that were not trained. No. You could see the precision. Now, come to terms. Another issue, sir, that I would like people to know is that apart from the fact that the outgoing GOC today, like Solomon has clearly said it, didn't perform well. We in Barkin Ladi, before now, there was a commander of Sector 4 in Barkin Ladi called Colonel Murtala D. Abdul Salam. God will bless that young man. He was able to painstakingly, patriotically, and sincerely stamp his foot in Barkin Ladi and put an end to the killings. Throughout his period in Barkin Ladi, there were no killings. I can state that without any contradiction. There were no cattle rustling. There was nothing. Peace had returned to Barkin Ladi. Even some of those that were killed were sent out of their ancestral homes before him in Jom, in local government. He brought them back. That's a Hausa man. That's a Muslim. But the moment that man left, the present commander in Barkin Ladi completely reneged on every agreement and went back to the dark days. And that's what is creating the killings that have now returned to Barkin Ladi. All you could see is that each time you see soldiers with hillock going to villages, cattle have been alleged to be missing. But where killings have been done, you will never see any soldier there. You will not. I can assure you that one. The latest one was towards the end of last month. There were killings in Rawuru, in Fan. The whole of that day, before the killings in the night, the whole of that day, soldiers were all over that village, that they were looking for the bodies of Fulani men that were killed. And the villagers were asking, when were they killed and where were they killed? They didn't say anything.
Okay.
It was yes, sir.
Mr. Solomon, thank you very much. We will come back to you.
Let me just quickly round up, sir. Thank you very much. But let it be known that the military is part of the problem in Plateau, at least in Berom land. Without the military, this thing would have stopped. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll come back to you when we get to discuss some permanent solution or even short-term solution to the crisis. But meanwhile, let's speak to Professor Mwaghavul Ezigwe or Dr. Mwaghavul Ezigwe. I don't know which one now. The title is always so much. Is there a historical pattern? Do you see a historical pattern to these killings, Dr. Ezigwe?
Well, it's not. It's both historical and political, and I don't know how long we should go on, undergoing this recurrent decimal. The whole pattern started from the point of the British presence in the Middle Belt. I can see the same pattern moving down to the south. The Middle historical pattern is very, very clear. And I try to wonder why the Middle Belt are not adopting the same scenario they made by the time the British came up. The Middle Belt we are talking about, those who are Christians today, were never conquered by the Fulani people. And they fought Fulani to a standstill before the British. In fact, the British intervention saved Fulani Caliphate, because all these people from even a southern Kebbi state, Dankaka, and this was why the British actually recruited these people. As they are moving, the British knew those who are not Fulani and Muslim. They recruited them into the West African Frontier Force that actually helped to maintain the colonial army, also to conquer the Fulani Caliphate. And that is why you see the Middle Belt dominant in the army, West African Frontier Force, the Nigerian Army, the First World War and Second World War, and up to the point when, following Murtala Muhammad, up to the point the same colluded with Hausa Fulani under Murtala Muhammad to overthrow Gowon. That was when even their problem started. They colluded. Murtala fought with Gowon to become head of state in 1966. And the same Murtala Muhammad disobeyed Gowon during the Nigerian Civil War, and Gowon had to remove him. And the same Christians, Middle Belters, joined Fulani people to overthrow Gowon. And that was when check out Murtala Muhammad's policies. He actually brought about the re-engineering of Nigeria into a Muslim state. And going about, you look at the kind of people that were caliber of military men that were executed under the coup from Bisala down. You go back, even Babangida, the number of people he gave during the Oka coup, most of them middle belt, to eliminate them from the army. You often go back to those who died from Hercules under the same Babangida. Those Hercules crashed in Ejibo. The elite officers, Major and Lieutenant Colonel, most of them Christians and Middle Belters, just to give way for the current situation. So there have been, it's not a question, there have been systematic preparation of the present scenario we have in Nigeria through the elimination of elite Christian and Middle Belt soldiers in the Nigerian armed forces, those who could oppose. And if you also look at the caliber of people, officers being sent to fight ISWAP and Boko Haram and being slaughtered under questionable ambushes, they're mainly Christians. So, and that is why even our Christian military army officers are very, very in a serious problem. Look at even NDA being attacked, a whole NDA Kaduna. Who were the people being abducted and killed? Christian officers at the center of the country. So what we should know is that the trend moving is not a macronized situation. It's a macro situation that does not affect Benue State. We are seeing how, under Buhari, under Babangida regime, the start of Zango Katav, the Katav experience. We saw it when Justice Okadibo was compelled to condense, such people like Major General Lekworth, Zaman Lekworth to death, so on and so forth. We see what happened in other places, not just Plateau State. And the question I would ask my brother is that, for example, Wase is the most concentrated Muslim area in Plateau State. How many times have Muslims been attacked? How many times have the people have been attacked there? For us to redefine or prioritize the religious pattern of the attack. That is, so there's historical pattern that has existed and which has even moved. The clay in Owo, the case in war, it's just a litmus test for them to test how far we Christians, Southerners can react when they start large-scale battle in the Middle Belt. The attack in Enugu State, Ehamufu, and even Nsukka area, where over 40 people were killed overnight. The same pattern. The military was there. They sent text message threatening the people that will attack them. They reported to the military. The 82 Div Commander, GOC, a Muslim, sent soldiers to guide the people. By 4 a.m., he withdrew the soldiers, and by 5 a.m., these Muslims came and attacked at the heart of Igbo land, and they left unscathed. So what I'm trying to say is that, for example, what I'm trying to say is that this matter is not an isolated case. And handling it piecemeal cannot solve the problem, can never solve the problem, because the Fulani people operate under international networking. Last time I wrote an article that the Sultan of Sokoto should be brought before the ICC. And people will say, why? I say, look, any action taken by the Fulani today is under the support of Sultan of Sokoto, because otherwise he should have come, no single Muslim emir from Sultan of Sokoto down has come out to condemn the activities of bandits and Fulani people. And we see people even coordinating, like Gumi coordinating ransoms. They move freely on the country, move freely. You may think of it if an Igbo priest, or a reverend or a bishop coordinates ransom payments with Christian bandits against Muslims, how it will stand in this country. So I think we should look at it. And that was why, we formed our international coalition against Christian genocide in Nigeria. And part of this ELC, part of our pattern is very, very clear. Let me say it. We encourage people to fight back. We encourage people to also get us the details of all the people killed. I was in Rwanda for a year and 2 months. And one thing about Rwanda is that all the lists of people killed in each villages, each government officers were put there in marble. So you have the record. Even now, we don't have the records of people being killed. From Kaduna down to Zamfara, down to Plateau, Southern Kaduna, Nasarawa, and even South, even Benue, they continue killing, invading. And these are people from, people who have been sent from Central African Republic, Fulani people there, who were driven out by anti-Balaka Christian revolters. And a lot of them are in Galambulai, in Galambulai refugee camp. About 700 of them in Galambulai refugee camp.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mwaghavul. I will come back to you with regards to...
So let me conclude.
Yeah.
The basic point you have to do is to engage on networking based on past experiences. The Fulani people are networking. So the only way we can confront, I say we because it does not concern Plateau people. It concerns every Christian and every Southern of this country. It doesn't concern Plateau people. Because if it's happening today in Jos, tomorrow it's happening in Kaduna, next time it's happening in Kaduna. There must networking of all the vigilantes in Kaduna State, in the Middle Belt, networking, so that if they're attacking Berom, people in Mangu should not only go back to head, should also attack the Fulani people among them. If they do it, they will stop. We knew what happened in Langtang that led Obasanjo to declare the state of emergency there. I don't think those bandits will go to Langtang, the two Langtang State can do to them. We know what happened in Alakio, among Alakio in Nasarawa State. The Egon people that ended in killing of 120, over 100 security personnel. We know what happened there. This Muslim came back and started asking for peace. So people should fight back, coordinate, and then drag people out from their land. Thank you very much. It's not here preaching. We have been preaching all the while, preaching without anything coming out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mwaghavul. We'll come back to you. Let's hear from Pams and Degiat at the moment. But before then, I want to share this information that Pamson shared with us some moments ago about this report published on this UK website. I'm sharing it now. United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. So this report has documented abuses against Fulani civilian Muslims against West and Central Africa. And among the countries listed where Fulani are being attacked is Mali, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, South Republic, Benin, and Togo. And the report said that these targeted Fulani Muslim civilians killings in these countries are even sponsored by the government to target and commit abuses against Fulani Muslims because of their religious beliefs. But I note one interesting point they made in the second paragraph here. It says, the scope of this report is limited to state-sponsored abuses against civilians based on Fulani Muslim identity, and also said, pursuing a victim-centered approach, the analysis focuses on Fulani Muslim civilians, not on armed groups that many call Fulani militants, Fulani terrorists, or killer herdsmen. So in other words, this report is trying to establish a distinction between Fulani militants, Fulani terrorists, or killer herdsmen from the ordinary Fulani that we know, where it appears that the report states that there have been sponsored killings and abuses against these Fulani Muslims as well. So, Pamson, what do you make of this report? Please unmute yourself. Pamson?
I'm trying to unmute. Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me appreciate the barrister Dalyop, the president of the Berom Youth Movement. This is third time of being on this your program. First, he was here to talk about the 68 villages that has been taken over. You recall that sometimes back. And then we did a whole lot of publicity and seeking the intervention of the federal government and then see if we can make some cases about it. But somehow it died a natural kind of death. Nothing happened. Then here we are, a publication sponsored by taxpayers' money. Is it the United Kingdom or is it the United States of America, which you just read? Now they are pitching a narrative which is totally the opposite of what actually is happening. The question is, if they are saying we should distinguish between the Fulani terrorists or militias, who are inheriting those places that they tend to claim they have conquered? It is those ones they are calling the innocent Fulanis because they want us to distinguish between the two. So the militias will come and take over the land. It will come and clear people. Then those non-militias will come and take over the land. So who is guilty and who is not guilty? Going forward, my submission has always been this. Number one, why can't we have a judicial inquest of this high level of calamity in a whole zone? At some point on the plateau, we move step for a judicial inquest, because here we are passing a vote of no confidence in the military. I think it is in the interest of the military for us to have an inquest in what is happening so that we will be able to address the why is the military frustrating and ensuring that this didn't happen. That is something we need to find a solution to. Number two, why don't we enhance our community level and capacity for cohesion? Because it's a balance of terror thing. This man is coming to your house. If we don't enhance our communities, the capacity to equally protect themselves, then all these are stories. Like the barrister is saying that the communities are now saying that they will want to move and migrate to the city. Invariably, it's like the war is won without even a bullet. So enhancement of community cohesion is critical. The other part is, why can't we make and enhance this, our brotherhood, under the standard that we've been talking about? Because like the prof rightly said, if we all see ourselves as brothers and we rise up against this particular menace, we will be able to address it in no distance time. So this enhancement of brotherhood needs to happen. And that is what I thought Samba will be able to achieve. But the limitation is simple. Technically, look at all the different people that made up the country or the zones, the political zones. The Middle Belters are the most impoverished. The Middle Belters Christians, check it out. Apart from TY, you cannot speak of any Middle Belter Christian that has the capacity of resource and funding. no any list of a Dangote, no any list of an industrialist, no any list. So we have been technically been impoverished. So that is a big problem, that we need this particular enhancement of brotherhood between us and the South, since they have capacity as far as financial support is concerned. If they see us as brothers, then they need to understand that we need them in this line. Number 3, at some point, these Fulani people almost got a ECOWAS court verdict directing the federal government to pay them hundreds of millions of dollars, if not for the BYM that went and institute a count before the judgment was offered. So why don't we too take advantage of those international courts or the availability of this international network that can really come out and take a stand, like the ICC or the UK court that we were talking about, Dan, sometimes back? What happened? Finally, we cannot deceive ourselves. Ranching is the solution going forward. But because of what happened in Benue, most of our governors are afraid of ensuring and stamping their feet for this open grazing. Until we do that, they will continue using farmers' header clash as a cover to this level of encroachment and land grabbing. So to my mind, if we can address those things, put them in perspective, we'll be able to stand and get this thing done. Because after all, when Prof was speaking, he was saying that we have never been conquered, whatever. That time it was a free society. But we are limited because they use government resources, government actors, and the instrument of cohesion that is available to government to make sure that we don't, for us to even maintain our lands the way they are now is a miracle. Will you believe that the militaries will come to a community, enter every house, even knife, common kitchen knife, they will take it away. That evening, after searching all the houses, taking everything that you can use, that they claim is you can use for protection, then the Fulanis will enter that same night. Immediately they finish picking those things. How will we be able to survive if government is far behind this and makes this thing happen? So by and large, let me stop here. I believe that if we look at those things and we put our heads together and we want to stop these things, we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thompson, for that clearly articulated points. Let's hear from Hisense, please. Hisense iPhone, can you unmute yourself? So if we take these 2 hands, we can now go back to our original personnel to get their concluding comments. So Hisense, unmute yourself, please. You can do that.
Yeah, good evening all. I'm Hisense Nanya. I've been following up on this very crucial and most important topic. You've earlier asked if we have some kind of coordinated research or documented records. There was a time, sometime I think back, one organization, Stephanos Foundation, they were able to come up with something like that. I think they are very much organized. I don't know if there's a representative is here, but if we can reach such an organization, I think we can coordinate that. On the issue of the Middle Belt not being able to defend itself, just like Honorable Thompson has said, I think the Middle Belt has so much been hamstringed with the use of state actors, especially the complicity of the military. And that to a great extent has affected the way they can or we can defend ourselves. Our political class does not help because they seem more complicit and they seem to kind of align themselves with those that we see as our enemies. The immediate past government in Plateau State is a clear example whereby the person that's there as the governor seemed to be working in tandem with those we see as enemies against our people, even when our people were being dislocated from their traditional kind of abbots. Nothing was done. And we go around with the narrative that peace had been restored in the state when things are not all right. So to a great extent, we are the enemies of ourselves. And it's been, what we see today is the manifestation of what has for long been orchestrated in connivance with some of our political elites. So that basically, I think, is what we need to look out for. And most especially also the need for us to coordinate whatever community-based interventions we're doing to go kind of across communities and across even the regions. Initially, it used to be seen as a Plateau issue, then graduated to a regional issue, Middle Belt issue. Now we're seeing things happening down south, and it's just a matter of time. The south may even most likely begin to experience this more than we here in the Middle Belt zone. So the sooner the Middle Belt region will begin to coordinate and work in tandem with the southeast, the south-south, and the southwest to segment this, I think the better for everybody. We've seen what happened in Central African Republic, and it's fast reoccurring itself here in Nigeria. So to be forewarned is to be, forguarded. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Hyacinth. Let's hear finally from Mr. Paul Yusuf, and then we now go to original discussants for concluding comments and the way forward. Mr. Yusuf, please. You can unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start by appreciating the contributors that have gone before me and for the very insight that they have presented in this forum. This just brought to my mind one or two things that I want to comment and also ask. Because in 2018, the Stephanus Foundation that was just mentioned, along with other organizations, we went and found a slot in the United Nations in Geneva to present an issue of genocide in Middle Belt. And the case was well packaged, and we tried to present it at the same time Buhari and his team visited Europe. And for some reason, Lalong, the former governor of Plateau State, who is a Christian, was among the entourage that went to Geneva. And we thought, okay, here is our man who is going to be like collaborating what we have packaged. Unfortunately for us, Lalong was the one who shut down the jet and said all that we have saying are not true. And it cowed our effort at that time. I'm saying our because one or two organizations that I belong to was also part of that team that packaged it. Now, I don't know him personally as Lalong, but from those who have made the presentation here, the question I want to ask, one, what are the incidents of this Lalong guy, and how has he contributed to the problems in Plateau State at the moment? Then the second part of it, now that he's gone, is that going to make a difference? Can we now make a headway? Because it looks like he was not on our side. I don't really know for sure, but this is the way it appears to me. And my perception is that from that incident in 2018, I believe that he made it impossible for us to make a proper case in the ICC. Now, about if someone can help me answer those two questions, but I want to make another point about solutions on how we can do with these things. You see, our problem is unity, not lack of resources. When we can unite, like one other speaker alluded to, when we can unite, we can solve these problems. But the problem, the issue of uniting here, some would have noticed that is one of the reasons why Samba was formed. And in Samba, we were working very hard and making headway in a lot of things. And then the elections came. Now, if you are dealing with something that's important and something more important comes, you just hold this one and deal with that one. Because we believe that the Middle Belt, the only solution that we can ever solve this 100 and something year problem that we've been going on is either we come with some supersonic speed and overtake these people, or create a strong narrative that can counter their narrative anywhere they go. So Samba came about because of this kind of thinking. And one feels very, very strongly that being part of Samba is the way forward. If we can get our guy or someone sympathetic to us into Astor Rock, that is when the distinction between we and they can be clarified. Because you cannot tell me that there's conflict when people are sleeping in their village and you just come in the night and wipe everybody off. That is not how does farmers conflict. So we have to get together, all indigenous people of Nigeria, and create a narrative which is true, which is strong, and that can stand against any test. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Before we go into a more intimate discussion from the discussants, let's hear from Mr. SD Dankaka, who is one of our original guests, but unfortunately I didn't notice when he eventually joined. So, Mr. Dankaka, you can unmute yourself. Let's hear from you before we go to our discussants for their concluding comments. Is Mr. SD Dankaka, you can please unmute yourself. All right, Barrister Solomon, you have had all the contributions now arising from your initial contribution. Do you have a summary, or what would be a summary of tonight's conversation and the way forward? And then we will now stop live streaming to have a more intimate discussion that will maybe for 15 minutes before we call it a night. Barrister Solomon, are you there? Or SD, any of you can unmute himself, please? You can unmute yourself. Particularly with regards to the question, the poster raised by Mr. Yusuf.
Dan, SD Dankaka has been trying to unmute himself. I noticed from the picture. So maybe he needs assistance.
Can he try again? Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Are we all there?
Yes,
hello, good evening.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, please, I joined the group very late because of some certain issues in the community. And I don't have a very clear picture of what has actually been put across. But I'm aware that what has been in my own, at our own end here, cannot be so much different from what is being discussed formally here. Please permit me to say some few things regarding the issue I have around here, locally here. Because I made to understand some people have spoken about the perspective nationally and internationally. As far as we are concerned here, in my own community here, the attitude of the headers here is a very serious one. And it's a one that calls for a unity of purpose amongst the various nationalities within the state. It's not an issue that affects only a nationality. And until our heads are all together, I think a solution to this matter cannot be gotten easily. By and large, it is a common fact that these people, their mode of operation and how they go about the whole thing is very clear now. And we have it on record that if you look at the way they do their things, you understand between them and the security agencies, you cannot have a very clear division, whether the agencies, the security agencies are on our side or not, because you discover virtually when attacks are made, you hardly see any intervention quickly from the security agencies until damage have been recorded. So we assume that time are normally bought, logistics are normally secured from them. They assist them with logistics and then probably with technical know-how. Because for those who stay throughout the night and then repel some of these attacks, some of us, you will understand that the way the operation is being done is highly planned, and people that are highly knowledgeable about gun are highly involved in the matter. However, we would suggest that as a community or as nationalities, if actually we want this thing to be curtailed, we have to develop the same model they need to develop. What they normally do is that they make sure they call themselves from all angles, and then at the same time, they mobilize resources, and then they launch attack. So I think it's not something that a community should leave another community doing it. When it happens, we should be able to make sure we put our heads together and then we counter. That is my own opinion. Hello, sir.
Yes, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. And with this, unless Barrister Solomon or Dr. Mwaghavul or Mr. Yang or Pamson has something to say in this open forum, we will stop streaming and then have some intimate conversation on the way forward.
Okay,
any of our discussants have, okay, Dr. Mwaghavul, come on board.
Yeah, there is something we have forgotten. There's a lacuna that is actually militating against our program, and that is the church. We are being attacked because we are Christians, not because we are Beroms, not because we are Mangu, not because we are Langtan. We're being attacked because we are Christians. But if you look at the pattern of the attacks, in those states, Benue, Plateau, there are Muslims living among their people. They don't attack their communities. The issue is that what are our church leaders doing? In Central African Republic, which I visited and I studied very well, the church played a significant pivotal role in mobilizing the populace against the Fulani governments and drove them away. I've always said it. And when I criticize a lot of the people like Father Kuka, all this, they say, oh, why am I criticizing? The point is that it takes one day for this problem to be resolved. If the churches, the Roman Catholics, the Anglicans, the mass or the Protestants, we say enough of these killings, both those in civil service, both those in banks, those in schools, I say enough of this, and march into the streets for one day and say, no, let us see how many of us the military can give. Move out. Enough of this nonsense. I think the government will realize the danger of what people are facing. But so long as we continue making this report in isolation, one community to the other, one state to the other, the Fulani operates under the siege mentality of divide and rule. They unite, they know that we cannot be united. Once we are united, these things will be stopped. If the Muslim GNA, Jamaatul Nasri Islam of Nigeria, cannot come out and criticize these killings, these kidnappings being perpetrated by their people, then let the Christian Association, let the whole churches come out openly. Not just speaking, not condemnation. We condemn, how long shall we condemn? Come out on the street, mobilize our members, and let's see how this can go. I think we can work towards this. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. It's been a very engaging conversation. Let's now have another conversation for 15 to 20 minutes before we disperse, and then we will